Hey everybody, it's PJ from Wisconsin Air Gunners. I've got an opportunity today to introduce you to the new Saber Tactical Universal Bench Monopod. This is in the catalog alongside the older version of the Bench Monopod, and I want to start by just talking a little bit about how they're different. So obviously the new Pro version is bigger. When this was designed, we were, a lot of us, shooting in competition impacts and crowns, and really that was the rifle setup that this was designed to attach to. It had a magnetic slide over rail design, and the Saber Tactical Crown chassis and the impact had a spot where you could put that on, and it worked really well. You could connect it to a Dreamline chassis as well, but it was limited to those few FX rifles, and then a couple other rifles where people made some custom adapters so that they could connect things up. It was, I don't want to say geared, but really kind of set up to work with rifles at a particular weight, and the rifles that were winning competitions at the time. The folks at Saber Tactical, Thane and Val, are never really content to just leave well enough alone, and at last year's RMAC, they had out some prototypes of, well, frankly, a more beefed up version of the Bench Pod. So this is the production version of that work. As opposed to an up and down spindle that is free to move, this one is straight up and down, and actually as it moves back and forth there's a track underneath it. So this thing stays at perfect right angles. It's also got bigger wheels. This year in competition at Rocky Mountain Airgun Challenge at the Pyramid Air Cup, I was fortunate and was able to shoot one of the prototype Red Pandas, which is about a 17-pound rifle. And that's a lot of weight. And actually, it wasn't super smooth with the small stock wheels that this was made with. So I had my friend John, the machinist at Donnie FL, make me a bigger wheel to give my old fingers a little bit better purchase. The new unit comes out with a much larger wheel, and a larger wheel just allows you to put smoothly a little more energy into your turns, which means as people are adding rail weights and with the Red Panda we're shooting a bull barrel, but as that air gun on the bench gets heavier, this helps you move a heavier gun. This came with a flat bottom with rubber on it. This one has rubber feet, and the feet are adjustable. A lot of times you get to competition, or maybe you're shooting on your home bench or out at the range, and because it's made of, let's say, treated lumber, or it's scarred up a little bit, you have some uneven spots. This will allow you to tune this to the bench so you've got that perfect flat base to work with. I guess the other big change is, rather than a connection point that is really designed to work with a small segment of the airgun population, this has this U-mount, and it's kind of rubberized, padded in there. This is meant to accept the stock of really just about any rifle that's out there. I was using it yesterday on a Diana XR200. That stock felt perfect in there, and with the bipod out front, had no problems doing some accurate bench work with it. It will accommodate the Saber Tactical FX bag rider, pretty much anything with a bag rider is no problem. Any traditional wood stock, no problem. You might find with some of the air guns that have a rear bottle or a rear tube, that tube has a bigger radius than this, and so it may just rest on top of it, but it may not fit in and cradle it. If there will be additional sizes of this released out into the future, I would say with Saber Tactical, anything is possible. I do also in this video want to go through the range of adjustments so that you know how to make it work if you choose to buy one. So let's start with left to right and right to left. So this wheel right here is going to give you your left or right movement. And as I turn it back, what's happening is the whole pod is moving this way, which is going to swing the muzzle to the right and move me on target to the right. And if I go back the other way, that's going to swing the stock to the right. It's going to cause the muzzle to go to the left, and therefore the shot's going to go left. Especially at long distances, you have a lot of adjustment on the wheel. And what I typically do when I sit down is I'll orient my rifle to the center of the target. I'll just kind of eyeball and center the spindle on the rod, and then I'll move everything, get it in place, make the foot adjustment, and then I'm ready to shoot left or right. If you need more adjustment, you just move the whole thing one way or the other. This wheel then handles the up and down duties. So as I dial this up, that's making the muzzle go down, and it's actually dropping me down on the target. And as I go like this, bringing this down, I'm actually raising the muzzle relative to the target. And again, especially for longer range shooting, this is quite a bit of adjustment, easily more than you need for an entire bench rest card. Now, the stiffness of how these wheels turn can be adjusted. And you'll see there are 3 recesses here and 3 recesses here. There are Allen screws in each of those, and by either tightening or loosening those screws, you are putting more or less pressure on the spacer that's in here, and it will make this easier or harder to turn. You might ask, why would you want to make it harder to turn? And that answer, I would say, is twofold. One, if it's harder to turn, it's easier to be more precise because you're going to make smaller movements and you're less likely to overcorrect. You go too hard and then it's not really, I mean, it's very stable and it will stay once you have it adjusted. But it's hard to work, especially if there's any amount of urgency in the shot you're taking. Like you're trying to match a wind, right? When I'm doing 100-yard bench rest, I take a shot on a sighter and then I go up to a target. And what I really want to do is shoot the same, I want to shoot in the same wind. I want to shoot before the wind chases. So to me, there is a little bit of urgency. So I don't want it, super tight. If you loosen it, which then makes it super easy to move the gun around. I mean, it's almost like playing a video game. It's very, very easy. But what you find is with a heavier rifle, when you let go of this wheel, I mean, no problem dialing it up, but as soon as you let go of the wheel, the weight of the rifle, it droops. So one of the things that you want to do when you get yours is get your rifle on there, okay? Dial it up. Does the mechanism at the level of tightness it comes hold your rifle steady as you would expect it to? If not, tighten these 3 screws. And you want to just make fine adjustments till you get to the point where there's just enough resistance in the wheel to make accurate adjustments. It holds the rifle exactly where you want, but it's not overly tight so that you're struggling and making unnecessary movements to the mechanism in order to get it to where it wants to go, or where you want it to go rather. And then you can do the same thing on the other side. So the unit comes set up for right-handed shooters, but this wheel can be swapped to this side. You'd have to undo this screw and pull the rod out, and there's a set screw there, and so there's a little process to it, but you can do it. This can also be swapped over, so left-handed shooters haven't been left out in the cold. The hardest thing about doing a review is you get a really cool product like this that works really well, and you want to share what you've learned with everybody. But the most important thing about this is just exactly how it feels and how smooth the mechanism is, both left and right and up and down, even under heavy rifle weight. It really moves very smoothly. So very excited to continue to work with this. I had great success with my old Faithful. Been in a number of competitions with that one, loads of practice, and no complaints about its performance. But this new version, for the type of shooting I'm doing, when it is competition and I'm looking at a grid target, that unit staying perfectly up and down at a right angle to the table, being able to make sure it's absolutely level, and then having precise control over where I'm moving that buttstock is critical to success in the 100-yard bench rest game. I have a feeling somebody's going to ask if we can put together a video, if I can put together a video on the swap. So let me know in the comments if you think that might be of use to you. My guess is there's at least like 10 or 11% of you who would be interested in that video. But if there's interest, I'll work to make it happen. So at the end of the day, what do I think? For bench rest shooting, especially in competition, there's nothing better out there. I love it. It gives me very precise, easy control. It doesn't shift or move. It allows me just to get the gun exactly where I want that release point to be. And I don't think there's anything better out there. It does take some getting used to. So figuring out where the gun needs to rest so that it stays in the shoulder and you're making good cheek contact, and just getting those parts of shooting that are really sitting on the bench and dialing it in. I would not want to shoot this for the first time in a competition because it is a new piece of equipment and you do need to practice with it so that you learn how to work with the equipment and the equipment isn't working against you. I do like the change to a more universal connection because I don't just shoot crowns and impacts. I have a variety of rifles I shoot, and I'm going to continue to shoot the new Red Panda when I'm in competition. They've put some future-proof kind of thoughts into this You'll probably notice when you look at one, if you get your hands on one, that there are some screw holes that don't seem to go to anything. Those are for future product development, as well as to allow the end user to have some attachment points for things that they may come up with. So I think all around it's a winner, and if you're serious about bench rest competition, this is one of those things you're going to want to work to get your hands on. It should be available at dealers as well as the Saber Tactical Inc. website, so it should have no problem finding it regardless of where you are in the world. If you have other questions and want to throw those into the comments, I'll get those answered just as quickly as I can. I do appreciate the comments and questions because it shows to YouTube that this type of content is of value to people, and we're not their first choice for content all the time. So every little bit helps. Until the next video, everybody, shoot safe, shoot straight, and we'll see you around.